My name is Will Cord and I'm the host of Ready, Set, Renovate. Our podcast is produced in the upstate of South Carolina where I happen to live and our business, Daniel Builders, is located. Ready, Set, Renovate is dedicated to making home renovations a delightful and drama-free process. Drama is fun when it's on HGTV, but not so much fun when your own home is at stake. We discuss real-life home renovations and all they entail while equipping you to edit out the renovation craziness. Along the way, we pack in some inspiration for your own home. Welcome to Ready, Set, Renovate. On this episode, we have Alex Williams joining us. Alex is a landscape architect with Arbor Land Design. And on this episode, he's talking about many different things when it comes to your landscape. Time now to dig in. So let's get to it. Alex, thanks for being with us. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I'm a landscape designer at Arbor Land Design. To, I guess, give sort of an overall view of what the company does. Like, they do residential and commercial landscape architecture, civil engineering, land planning, and surveying.
Have you been kind of passionate about this your whole life?
I have. It's probably kind of a longer backstory, but I'll try to give it in like a summary. Basically, growing up, we stayed at my grandparents a lot, and they didn't have cable, so we had to just be outside, and I kind of started...
That's probably a big blessing that many kids need this day and age, but that's where you're saying that's where it began, huh? Being outside at your grandparents.
Yeah, just, raking trails through the woods, just kind of making my own fun that way, and that led to me doing a project, or like my Eagle project was landscaping at my home church, and that led to me starting a small business, doing that in college, and now working at Arbor.
Most everybody knows what a landscaper does, but may not know what a landscape architect does. Mm-hmm. Can you clarify and distinguish between those two?
The landscape architect can really handle any kind of design outside of the home. It's really an extension of the architecture of a home, or may set the stage for how architecture responds to the landscape. I guess a good example, and someone that many people might know, is Frederick Law Olmsted that designed Central Park. That's a great example of how good landscape architecture responds to how we live, the way people use a space, and doesn't try to impose an architecture on the space. It really set the stage for the development of the city around it. And now that's obviously some of the most valuable real estate in the world. So that is really a great example of how landscape architecture can add value to a much smaller scale someone's home as well.
Let's say there's somebody who owns a home and they're ready to do massive work on it, the interior, the exterior, the landscape. How soon should you guys be involved in that overall vision?
Most people don't think to do this, but bringing in a landscape architect at the forefront of a project can really lead to a better result overall. It can work with the current renovation, but even if you're thinking of building a house, that's really a great time to bring in a landscape architect to site your house and consider the best views. The approach to your house. We're working with a client in Travelers Rest now, where we came in and he had a builder selected. We kind of took the architectural plans and the site and determined the best way to meander your way into the property, and how that tells a story in itself and sets guests up for a certain experience.
Tell us a little bit about the process. Is it just where you start and how long it takes?
Well, we always start with a client meeting and trying to get to know them and, what they're looking for, take any notes on the site that we need. A survey may be required to kind of give us a more detailed understanding of the existing landscape. And then from there, it's, just developing concepts and getting approval on that and feedback from the client, and moving towards construction plans. And, we can even do construction administration.
Can you explain the different elements of design, contemporary being one of them? Are there others? And can you explain what they are?
Well, people's tastes are very varied, and can always be a mix of stuff, but I think that we have a talented team that can handle either something very traditional or something very contemporary. Something contemporary might have a much more linear nature. So it's, selecting the right plants for that'll accent that architecture, and framing spaces to like expand the architecture of the home.
We're talking about doing a lot on the residential side here lately. In fact, we teamed up with you on a project, and tell us a little bit about that project in particular.
It was an exciting project and an ongoing one. We're in phase 2 now. Arbor was brought in initially to, just kind of take a look at the overall site. I think we developed some concepts for the expansion of the screen porch, the renovation of the freestanding garage, and the new pavilion, as well as like all the hardscape and landscape plans.
Was there somebody who had kind of the vision for that property, or did they come to you with like Pinterest board images and say, can we do this or can we do this? How was the vision captured?
So David Vandewater and Jason Schmidt, the landscape architects at the time at Arbor, they kind of came up with the overall concept initially.
That's great. And then when they went to convey that to the client, they did it in the form of schematics, pictures. Did they utilize like Pinterest or any type of actual visuals?
So we developed, like using AutoCAD, we developed like some perspectives and some sections of what those like outer pavilions may look like. And then with the landscape, oftentimes that's like a hand sketch, at least in the concept phase, to kind of give the owner an understanding of, what it would look like.
Phase 1 turned out beautiful. And then when it comes to phase 2, what are you guys thinking?
So phase 2, again, David Vandewater kind of came up with the initial concept for it, and Arbor is taking that with the client's like feedback and making any revisions necessary. We're in the budget development phase right now, where we're lining up contractors and trying to get a holistic look at the project, and then we'll move into construction admin. Right now, like things are being graded. We'll be planting some trees soon.
When you say you're lining up the contractors, talk about who all's involved in this process. It's more than just one landscape guy, right?
Right. There's probably 12 or 15 different contractors involved in the second phase. Green Hill Landscaping, they're going to do like a koi pond. TS Stoneworks, Tim Shook, he's doing all like the masonry. Bennett Landscaping is doing the landscaping. It
would be easy to think that, hey, there's just, you design it, you turn it over to a landscape guy and he runs with it, but actually there's a lot that goes into it.
Right. I guess the advantage of using Arbor as like construction management is that we can make sure that the project is executed to the level of detail that we're expecting. And that gives the client some security as well that, if something's not right, we're going to ask that to be corrected before final payments processed.
Playing the role of GC, it sounds like, the general contractor or in the landscape sense, for everything landscape. What about timing when it comes to working on landscapes? Is there a time of year that you have to do it, or can it be done year round, just depending on what you're doing?
So in our area, we're lucky that like the planting season is pretty much year round for things like shrubbery and perennials. Trees need to be in the ground before like things start to leaf out, so that's something that's already been lined up. Trees have already been dug, just waiting to pop those in the ground. So
when it comes to native plants, are you guys emphasizing that a lot, or are you bringing in plants of all different types, shapes, and sizes?
We are. That's something that's important to me and to us. The whole second phase of that is going to be centered around native plants. We won't be using any typical like sod. It's going to be a lot of like wildflowers.
Native plants, why is that important?
So native plants they're able to respond to, changes in the environment much better than something that might not be native. And we can see that in the recent damage from like Helene and the wildfires. It's going to be important as we go forward to design our spaces and our landscapes, even down to like the residential level, in a way that can respond and handle those changes.
What are some challenges that you're up against when it comes to landscape design in a particular property?
So, I mean, there's always unknowns. When you start to dig into a project, literally, a lot of times there'll be challenges like a graveyard that are existing conditions that you obviously need to work around. Somebody might have like a rock outcrop or something in their yard that may really change the direction of a project. That may be in the way of what your intention was, but how can you then make that like a feature of the site? Or people may have like sentimental value attached to certain trees. Being a good landscape architect is being responsive to those unknowns, and how do you protect those while developing a piece of property?
What is one recurring thing that you're hearing from clients when they talk about the relationship they have with Arbor Land Design?
So we have a lot of like repeat clients over the years. We've had multiple people, if they move to a different house, they'll come back to us to do that as well. So I think that speaks to the relationship that we have with folks and like our ability to communicate and execute.
Alex, really grateful that you came on and told us a lot about landscape design. If someone wants your services, how do they go about getting to you?
They can find us on Facebook at Arbor Land Design or on Instagram at Arbor Land DES. Mm-hmm. If they want to get in touch with us on the website, arborlanddesign.com, there's an email and a phone number that they can call. Mm-hmm. There's a portfolio of work there as well.
Are you interested in remodeling your home? Well, reach out to us at danielbuilders.com and we can help you get that process started.